What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be doing a review of the new Didier Drogba and the momentum dribbling Hazard, as well as Shinji Kagawa. So one of my subscribers, Nez, was kind enough to let me onto his account, and as you can see in the clip there, Drogba was really impressive. And Hazard was quite good too, but honestly, he actually didn't really stand out to me as an amazing card. So we're going to go through the clips today, and I'll give you my thoughts on if I think they're worth spinning for and what type of players they actually are in-game, because I think particularly Drogba is going to surprise a lot of people. But just first off, it was on Nez's account, so I started off with his build, and the build I started off with, it was a very good card with this build, but he was missing a few easy chances. So once I hit that shot there, I knew, okay, he had 93 finishing, I need to put 95 finishing on him. So if you don't give him 95 finishing, he's going to be a very good player, but he will miss a few chances. Like, it's not even the fact that he just misses these chances, it's the fact that they're kind of going wide by such a large margin. So I did change it to 95 finishing. So this is the build I had started with. You can see that we do have 7 finishing, so it's only going to end up in 93 finishing. His dribbling is to 80 tight possession though, and his dribbling was very good in game. I definitely performed very well with that. So when I went on to the next build, I'll show you in a second. 95 finishing, we took off dribbling, so I was worried about that. His aerial strength has good stats, but I honestly didn't feel like he was extremely dominant in the air. And then obviously we're giving him high lower body strength for the speed and kicking power, and then the dexterity is for his offensive awareness. He was very good at getting on the end of passes. But then this is the build I ended up with, and he definitely improved. So you can see we did take off a little bit of the dribbling, and I actually don't think it had any negative impact really. Tight possession didn't seem, from going from 80 to 79, to have a major impact on the card. But then the consistency in his finishing got a lot stronger when he had the 95 finishing. We also took off aerial strength just because I didn't feel like he was dominant in the air, which is very surprising to me. So I honestly don't think you need to put the points into it really. And you'll see throughout the clips, even if he was dominant in the air, I wasn't scoring much headers with him. Now, it could be an issue of what I'm doing with the headers, because he has bullet header, and I really struggled with Luis Suarez's bullet header too. So it could be an issue of I'm not putting the right power in, because I don't have great experience with the bullet header skill. But I don't know, I actually don't know what the story is. He just wasn't scoring headers for me, which is very surprising. The other player is Hazard. You've seen the clips there. He was an okay card for me, which is kind of surprising, because you would think he would be someone that I would like a lot, and then other players like Tess, the Japanese guy, he really likes Hazard. But I think the biggest issue for Hazard for me was that he just didn't start with true passing, and Nez didn't have a true passing skill on his account for me to put on there. As Drogba not scoring a header. Not that he should be scoring that, you know, every time, but there was other instances where he should have scored headers that I was a bit disappointed with. Drogba again, he didn't have the pace to, when he was in behind like that, he couldn't stay ahead of the defenders very well. So I think that is an issue with the card. Now he is able to hold off the defenders. He got a foul one because of that, but there is other instances where when he holds off the defenders, it kind of, you know, results in, like you're seeing there, it slows him down too much, and then he just gets caught and tackled. And that's just a problem with physical contact in the game really. It's not a problem with Drogba per se, but it is a problem with how physical contact works, which is why I don't think physical contact players are that you know, important and much of a strength. And like, look there, that's an open goal pretty much. He has the whole left side of the goal to head that ball into, and he just chooses not to. So I know I was definitely I think I was aiming that actually. Just have another look at the slow down to be sure. So I whip it in with Figo, edge crossing, and I'm aiming at the middle. Okay, I slightly aim it to the left there, but actually I guess I did aim it a slight bit to the left, but it probably wouldn't be enough to tell the game that it's going in the corner. So maybe it's a problem with me with the bullet headers then, and not the game or Drogba individually. Maybe I'm just not aiming it enough in the corner, because headers have always been a problem with eFootball. Like I used to always have Hullet in the back post. This is back in like eFootball 23, Hullet back post, and you'd miss open goal headers so when you aimed them. So I learned not to aim it at all. Now, like, you wouldn't even press the analog stick to aim it. You would just do a normal header, and then it would stop the headers from going over the bar. Now, they kind of fixed that in the game. Like, the headers don't kind of loft over as much. But I still don't think they're consistent enough. But, I mean, in that specific instance, I guess maybe I should have aimed it wider in the corner. So, I mean, maybe the jury's still out on Drogba there. But David Villa, that's the version of David Villa that's coming in the selection pack. That was him there scoring that header. He scored a fine, and I always find the non-bullet header to score the tap-in headers more, which is usually the only headers I attempt really. I don't really do a crossing game, I only attempt tap-in headers, so I don't know, maybe the normal header is better for tap-ins. But if we go on to Hazard there, Hazard, I had a high finishing build on Hazard, and his finishing really wasn't that consistent. I did find though his left foot was better than his right foot, and I don't know if that was just a case of I assume it's just a case of my opponents kind of didn't realize he had very high weak foot, so they weren't expecting the shot. I was able to get the angle easier because I actually didn't know he had very high weak foot for the first few games. It took me a while to realize. But then he plays that little through ball into David Villa there. That was good, and that was what I wanted to see more of. But without the true passing skill, it's just not going to happen on a consistent basis. Here he uses finesse dribbling perfectly to beat, I think that's Bastoni, but he just doesn't have the pace to get by him, and that was a common theme. I just couldn't, like, I was just getting stuck on defenders there. That time there, though, to be fair, he actually uses contact to keep him off. But I couldn't burst past my opponents with Hazard very much. And someone like Neymar, I can burst past them, Ronaldinho, like a lot of wingers. But Hazard, I couldn't. And when I used Hazard, before I used him, I was assuming he was going to be like Baggio, dribbling levels. And he didn't feel as good as Baggio, but I think there's actually a big reason for that. Because his true passing wasn't good. I mean, that was a great finish there from that ball roll. Because his true passing isn't as good, it would make his dribbling not as effective. And the reason for that is because, you know, if I'm not confident in his ability to pass, I'm going to have to dribble. I'm going to have to dribble out of bad situations. And it means I'm just not dribbling in ideal situations. That's the second free kick Drogba scored, by the way. I'm not good at free kicks, but Drogba was scoring them for me. So, I mean, that's a good sign. I was definitely surprised when I saw his free kicks were such a high stat. Then I actually remembered. I'm pretty sure I used to take free kicks for Chelsea sometimes. You can see the passing plays as well, actually, with Drogba. He has one-touch pass and true passing by default, and it definitely helped a lot. Here's David Villa playing a great ball into Drogba on the back post, and he's tapping it in. By the way, that was the new Xavi that just came out recently with that flick. Xavi was the best player I used in a long time. He was amazing. And Hazard here, just kind of like, you know, bouncing around. And then once he gets that side foot animation, Hazard, you've probably seen a few times now. They do seem good, but the other shots not as much. But this is great turning from Drogba. Like, he was like, I don't know, man. It was actually just... Surprisingly, his dribbling was one of his best attributes, which is very shocking because he has okay dribbling stats, to be fair, but he doesn't have great balance. So I'm a bit confused as to why he was so effective. Maybe it's the physical contact. It might act like, you probably don't play FIFA. In FIFA, there's a stat called composure, and essentially what it means is when defenders are near you in FIFA, you get a penalty to your stats. So your finish will be worse, your dribbling will be worse if a defender's near you. But if you have high composure, that effect is less. So that stat isn't in this game. It might be a case of it's something like carryover through physical contact. That kind of effect happens. But Fighting Spirit also has a similar effect. This is one of my favorite goals, Drogba. Look at this finish, actual top bins. Like, I find it very hard to score finesse shots in the top corner anyway. And I knew that shot was getting blocked if I didn't put power on it. So that was very good from Drogba. That was my favorite goal in him, just because it showed, you know, once you give the 95 finish on him, how effective he is. Here's Kagawa, by the way. I didn't play as much with Kagawa, but he did feel very good, very slick. He's just like a kind of Iniesta type player. Like, there's nothing out with his world, but he is like a very good card. So if you were choosing between the two packs that are out at the moment, the Xavi, Iniesta, and Figo pack, and then this pack, if I honestly think, it's crazy to say, but I do think Kagawa wouldn't be... If Iniesta's like a 9.5 out of 10 player, Kagawa's an 8.5 out of 10 player, so it might be worth it going for the Chelsea pack, or the Premier League pack, sorry, if the other two players are more interested to you. But Xavi was the best player I used in a long time from that Barcelona pack, so he could also be someone you'd want to go for. But these are the builds I'll use. I'll show you the skills in a second. For Hazard, Nez started off with a different Hazard build, then I switched him for this one, and he actually said when he had his hands on it, he liked this build more, but I would actually make a further adjustment to this build. I would actually go for something like this. I don't think you need as much dribbling as we had on the card. And with this build, you can get more pace, so you can get him up to 94 speed. And then the extra kick and power will also help his shooting, obviously, too. You can take a little bit of points off the pace and get his passing up to 80. And then when you get true pass on him, his passing will be very good. But then you do lose the pace. But like I was saying earlier when I kind of compared him to Baggio, I don't think the lack of speed would be a major issue if he had the ability to pass. But without the skill, it was definitely a big downside. So for the Kagawa build, this is what we were using in terms of the booster. I don't think it matters too much. I think agility looks good, but you could also go for another ball carrying, and that means you get your extra points. You can just take a point off dribbling and then redistribute the points like that as well. So I don't think it matters too much. You could try to get 70 physical contact. If you were to do that though, you'd probably try to take off passing and do it like that. You don't need to jump in. sorry, sometimes the football hub glitches out and it has the jumping and physical separate, but they're the same there. So you can get the 70 physical contact. I would mainly take off the passing, but I think his passing ability is good, so I would recommend keeping it and have it. So we had it like 85 on the lofted pass, so his chip balls are good as well. For his skills, he starts off with a good bunch. He's got double touch and soul control, of course, and then long range curler, first time shot, one touch pass and true pass, and outside curler. He's got pretty much everything you'd want from a player in his position. So I would probably recommend putting on long range shooting, weighted pass, flip flap, acrobatic finishing, and Marseille turn. I think this guy is actually a bit of a gem, and he's Japanese. So Konami, like Japanese players, they usually make them perform better in game than their stats suggest. But he does have good stats anyway, so you can't really go too wrong with Shinji Kagawa. For Eden Hazard, I would probably recommend, well, I'd definitely recommend True Pass first. It definitely kind of changed the card. Or I didn't use True Pass on him, but it did make the card a lot worse for me, so that was the downside. He definitely needs True Pass. I'd give him Flip Flap because you've seen I scored a couple of goals with that ball roll chance, so if you want to know how to do that, I have a video on that as well. I'd also give him Cup Behind and Turn. It was so weird using him without Cup Behind and Turn. He's just the type of player that should have it, so I'd definitely give him that too. Acrobatic finishing, just to help him with them off balance shots while dribbling. And then for the last skill, I've got 3 skills I'd recommend, so you have to pick one. Pinpoint crossing will help his crossing, especially if you have Drogba in the middle. You want to use that bullet header. But with the builds I was recommending, his stamina is quite low, and I did feel like it was an issue. He did have to be subbed off late in the game, so if you don't have a substitute for him, like he's your only kind of winger, you'd want to keep him on the pitch, so you'd probably have to go for fighting spirit in that sense. But if you do have another winger, you could probably go for super sub then, because you could start, like say Neymar, just start him and then bring on Hazard off the bench. But he's probably going to have to get substituted off or substituted on, because when he is low on stamina as well, I feel like it negatively impacts Hazard a lot. Someone like Messi, I feel like if he has low stamina, it doesn't really matter to him, but I put fighting spirit on my Messis actually, so maybe that's why. Yeah, definitely the stamina is going to be a bit of an issue with this Hazard. Now for Drogba, the skills I'd recommend on him are double touch, Cup Behind and Turn, outside curler, long range curler, and then the last one, actually we'll come back to the last one because there's a bit of a debate on it. I think the skills are pretty self-explanatory. He did score a few outside curlers, a double touch helped him obviously. Long range curler, it wasn't for the knock on finesse outside the box or the long range finesse shots, but that did finesse shot I scored, top corner one. Even though it was in the box, long range curler should be still applying. Apparently there's a player, I think he's a Chinese player on Reddit, he tested it, he found that long range curler gives, he estimates about a 10% boost to finesse shots in the box. I've always felt this as a hunch. I always thought, I think long range curler helps the box. I had no data to back it up. This guy has that, so according to his tests, long range curler helps finesse shots in the box, so definitely think it would be worth going for on him. So for the last skill, I have 2 choices. One is super sub, just because type of player he is, very dominant in the air, late in the game, can't really break your opponent down, whipping it across might be worth it. Obviously I had problems with the bullet header, but we kind of established it might have been a case of me using the bullet header wrong, not a problem with the phenomenal skill itself, because when I play against bullet header, trust me, I notice how effective it is. But then the last skill is soul control, and I wouldn't have recommended it, but Nez, whose account I was using, had it on Drogba, and his dribbling was very good, and people always ask me, does soul control improve dribbling? And I actually don't know. So I think it might have been playing an impact, but I can never tell, because I pretty much put soul control on all of my players that I dribble with, so I never really have a before and after test, and I didn't get to use Drogba without soul control, so I couldn't really feel if it improved his dribbler or not. So if you want to be safe, you probably could put soul control on him, just to help, and it will help with his knock-on shots, not that you're going to do too many with him. And you can probably take Cup Behind and Turn off in that case, because maybe a lot of people don't use it, because I get a few people asking even what does the skill do or how do you activate it. So I know a lot of people don't use Cup Behind and Turn. But yeah, overall I think it's Drogba's a very good player. Like he's a very good player. Kagawa's a decent player. He performs very well in game. But like I think people aren't excited about him. And then Hazard for me just wasn't anything special. But one thing, obviously I didn't have the true pass as we discussed, and secondly as we discussed, there's a lot of other people that are liking Hazard a lot. Maybe they had true pass on him and it helped them. And maybe I was just playing with him wrong. I was probably expecting too much pace off him. So I think it's a good pack. I don't really think you can go too much wrong with the pack at all. So let me know your guys' thoughts if you have the players, or if you're still debating on where to go for them. You can kind of have a discussion in the comments, I guess, get your feel, because I want to know if anyone else is kind of playing with Hazard and thinking, I had a few people in my stream say he's not that special, so it is interesting to see.